G'day everybody, Pastor Adrian Kitson here from St Petri on the first day of lockdown in South Australia. I think we know what to do now, don't we? This lockdown is, it's more restrictive than it has been in the past, way back in April, but we know what to do, I think. It's kind of on us Christians, isn't it, to be the very best citizens of a community that we can be. I say this with the words of Scripture in mind, of course. Titus 3, remind the believers to submit to the government and its officers. They should be obedient, always ready to do what is good. And 1 Timothy 2, pray for all people, ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf and give thanks for them. Pray this way for kings and all who are in authority so that we can all live peaceful and quiet lives marked by godliness and dignity. Earlier in this pandemic, I discovered that the Christian way to respond to the threat of disease and pandemic, etc., is kind of a balancing act between two possibilities. On the one hand, we respond to the government's directions and health practices that limit the damage of the disease. And on the other hand, we go the extra mile and we put ourselves in harm's way if we need to, for the sake of those suffering. I got this from the story of Martin and Katie Luther back in the Reformation days. They lived this balancing act in their day. When the Black Death came to Wittenberg in Germany, Luther believed it was not right to expect every person to respond the same way to the threat of a pandemic, a plague. This is because people's faith is different. A person who has a strong faith can drink poison and suffer no harm, Mark 16, while one who has a weak faith would thereby drink it to his or her death, says Luther. He said that if you need to escape the plague, the threat of death, then do that with a good conscience. And many people in his community did indeed do just that. They left town pronto. On the other hand, Luther and Katie not only stayed in town while the Black Death was in their town, but they actually opened up their very large sort of cloister house, student house, as a hospice for the sick. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep, but the hireling sees the wolf coming and flees, John 10:11. For when people are dying, they most need a spiritual ministry which strengthens and comforts their consciences by word and sacrament, and in faith overcomes death. So it seems we live this balance in this lockdown. Here's how Luther ends up. I shall avoid places and persons where my presence is not needed, in order not to become contaminated and thus, perchance, infect and pollute others, and so cause their death or sickness as a result of my negligence. However, if God should wish to take me, he will surely find me, and I have done what he has expected of me, and so I am not responsible for either my own death or the death of others. If my neighbour needs me, however, I shall not avoid place or person, but will go freely, as stated above. So we live this pandemic in a spirit of the gospel. When people need help, we help. Otherwise, we do exactly what is needed for the community. God bless you as you live through this interesting few days.